Hello and welcome to everyone out across the world. This email goes to these days, though primarily our business operates in New Zealand and Australia. We welcome a few more American clients to the roster this month, as we will be expanding across the United States. We'll also be adding a number of businesses to our email at the end of the month. So if this is the first time that you are watching one of my CEO memos, welcome, and thank you for taking the time. You can also find a lot of information on our YouTube channel, which I would recommend that you go and check out the digital walkthrough playlist, where there is a lot of informative explanation guides around different Google products. Of course, if you out there in the big wide world, regardless of whether or not you're a client, if you want to request a subject for one of our team members to investigate, we absolutely can. But all the same, what a wonderful month it has been. November has been a bit warmer in New Zealand, a little bit less rain in Auckland, but generally speaking, things have a better sentiment out there in the market. I think that change in government has lifted all spirits. We now have a coalition agreement that we can get on with, and one hopes that the economy really starts to see an uptick into 2024. Certainly, I would expect it to be that way. The Reserve Bank is going to release the OCR sort of numbers today. Hopefully that's flat, if not an indication of rates being cut into the new year. But though we saw a decline in the number of inbound leads in October pre-election, as I'm sure many business owners will have, that has rebounded into November, and we will end the year in a pretty strong place, which is good. And then anecdotally, talking to a lot of other business owners in all industries, we're seeing the lead time for trade jobs extend out a wee bit, which is great. We're seeing retailers pick up. I'll touch on that in the Black Friday comments that I make in a moment. And generally, professional services are going well. So there is room for optimism, and I think that we should grab every little bit we can and push into the new year. So regarding Black Friday, it was a bit of a mixed bag. What we observed was that some of our clients introduced advertising for the first time. Some of our clients increased their ad spend, as we would have normally seen in years past. And some of our clients stayed consistent in their normal spend, changed out some of the ad content and promoted particular products, but didn't necessarily have specific campaigns and increased budget accordingly. Now, in New Zealand, what we have seen is that there was a lower amount. So despite the malls being very busy, Retail New Zealand said Black Friday sales were down by about 10%. Softer Black Friday sales would seem fairly consistent with what we're seeing in consumer spending, which has been trending lower this year due to rising interest rates and cost of living. For the Australian Retail Association and the National Retail Association, they both predicted that there would be a $6.36 billion spend across the 4 days, which would be up 3%, and that more than 40% of retailers began their Black Friday promotions at least 1 to 2 weeks earlier this year, and online sales on Friday were 10 to 25% up on last year, with strong foot traffic. So that's pretty encouraging. In the US, their Black Friday online spending, they actually call it Cyber Week. So it can be up to 10 days, but they're talking about Thanksgiving through to Cyber Monday. So slightly different in the US to New Zealand and Australia. All markets build their own rhythm. Spending reached a record $9.8 billion, up 7.5%, and Amazon has said just today that they had their best trading period ever. So pretty lumpy out there, actually. Some success, which is great, but ultimately, I think that consumer spending has been squashed by the respective Federal Reserve banks. And what we have to see and hope for now is that that sort of bottomed out and we build back up. So one of the areas that we've talked about all year has been around how we get better data for our clients. We used to have a market report that would pull in our top 40 clients. And that was a restriction of Universal Analytics. Now that we've got GA4 established, we have started building out a far more robust dashboard that gives us live to-the-minute data across all of the accounts that we manage. Obviously, this is an anonymized data set, but it will provide that much more in terms of actual data. So I'll share my screen and show you what we're working with, but I will be careful to point out that this data has only been aggregating for the last 2 weeks. And in addition to that, we have only a small cohort of clients in the pool. Now that'll grow, one would hope, completed by the end of the year. So we have an average master data. And so this is across all of the clients that are in there at the moment. What is the average number of users coming to the site? Don't worry about the green ink. If you've seen a dashboard from Wonks before, you'll know that on the homepage, it's a 28-day on 28-day comparison. Because this data is fresh and being imported, the comparisons are probably less relevant until we settle on the data sets, probably late January. So the January report will probably give us pretty good Christmas data. Now, average users at 21,000 is high, probably a lot higher than what you'll be experiencing as a client, and that number will, I expect, to go down. Time on site 3 minutes 27, going good indicator against your own benchmark. Average transactions at 11 and revenue of $8,200 and a conversion rate of just under 0.5%. So these are averages, and these are the sorts of numbers that you'd want to look at. Because this is only the foundational aspects of it, we haven't split out conversions and revenue. So we do want to, obviously, if you're not selling online, revenue is not relevant to you. So we want to be able to show what is the average number of conversions. And then if you are building revenue, what's the average revenue coming through sites that we're dealing with? And then obviously, what's the total number of transactions? So I think this will be really useful data to show. If I just jump over to the totals, this will build up over time. And this, again, is instructive in a different way, but is giving us some good information to work with at that parent level. So more and more, this number will grow. I expect that number will be interesting. I think that we'll probably get that up to 8 to 10 million. Demographics wise, and the average is probably more important. What do these pages show compared to your own site? So what is we've got a pretty even gender. So we have a lost here device split in mobile and desktop, with a little bit of tablet and smart TV. And then the number of leads that are coming in are predominantly from desktop, although, again, we'll just let these numbers settle a wee bit. Since GA4 has been released, the gender component of tracking has gone sideways. And so we're seeing a lot of unknown and then smaller cohorts for male and female. We used to see that as probably a third. So we're doing a bit of investigation to that. Channels I won't show you today because it has information that I don't want to share. So I'll get that removed. And then we have pages, conversions, and events. Again, pulling out a little bit more information. In time, we'll add the US into here, and we can filter that down and go, okay, what's it doing in New Zealand as compared to Australia? So those numbers will change out as we go. So far less revenue, far less Australian businesses currently pulled in. And then the final one is the ads overview. And you can see what we're seeing across the averages is that it's 10 conversions, an average conversion value of $1,000 per online sale. So again, we'll want to see that from the e-commerce perspective and the conversion perspective. So exciting to be able to showcase this information to you. And there's more that we want to be able to pull in and slice and dissect, because one of those perennial issues that business owners have is around, well, it looks okay. My data looks okay, but what is someone else doing? And I'm pretty sure we're looking at client type. So, what size you, what type you are, sorry, and what size you're working toward here. So your project manager into 2024 will be able to give you comparison data to work with. They'll be able to bring this dashboard up and showcase how are you comparing in terms of how much your ads are costing, what's your cost per lead, how much revenue are doing through your site compared to other businesses. Now, it's not going to be massive in the terms of the changes of the strategy that you'll roll out, but it is instructive. And it does give you something to work toward and put pressure on. And so that is what we would want for you to know. I'll report in this monthly memo, as we had done previously when Raja was doing the report. Raja will continue to do the report with new updated data. But month to month, please do talk to your project managers. So just two last things. The first is that on each and every one of our client accounts, over the next 2 months, we are going to spend 5 hours on your account for free. We're going to have your current project manager is going to be assigned with another senior project manager, and that person is going to review your account. So we're going to have a second pair of eyes in your account to make sure that everything is configured correctly, that we have the maximal opportunities possible and present in your ad accounts or social media or your website, whatever it is that we can see to identify to be better, we will be looking at. And then we are going to do some competitor analysis. And so that is going to put you in a pretty good place in sort of January 2024 as to where you can go for the rest of the year. So we're going to put that into a Google Slides, series of slides for each client, and your project manager will share those results with you in the new year. So a big body of work from us, but we want to make sure that we're constantly investing back into you, constantly investing into your accounts and taking the learnings that one project manager might have and applying them to other projects. And so what we're doing is making sure that we've got multiple eyes on your account and that we're driving toward the objectives that you want. And in most cases, it's going to be higher revenue, more leads, more sales, more inquiries, better brand placement. We want to make sure we're doing that in the absolute best possible way. So I'm glad that we're doing that. It's always a big thing, big step to be investing into client accounts. And there are some other exciting opportunities that are coming into 2024, which will have a direct bearing on our ability to service you better and deliver greater results. So if you don't like Elon Musk, leave now. I'm going to show you something not particularly about Elon Musk, but more so the words that he is using, because I think that the sentiment is one that I identify with, and it's never beer and skittles building a business. There's always peaks and troughs. There's difficulties. There's a whole range of things. But I felt that this was a really good minute, 50 seconds.
I think that a lot of times people think like creating a company is going to be fun. I would say it's not. It's really not that fun. I mean, there are periods of fun, and there are periods of where it's just awful. And particularly if you're the CEO of the company, you actually have a distillation of all the worst problems in the company. There's no point in spending your time on things that are going right. So you only spend your time on things that are going wrong. And there are things that are going wrong that other people can't take care of. So you're like the worst. You have a filter for the crappiest problems in the company, the most pernicious and painful problems. So I wouldn't say I think you have to feel quite compelled to do it, and have a fairly high pain threshold. And there's a friend of mine who says like starting a company is like staring into the abyss and eating glass. And there's some truth to that. The staring into the abyss part is that you're going to be constantly facing the extermination of the company, because most startups fail. It's like 90%, arguably 99% of startups fail. So that's the staring into the abyss part. You're constantly saying, okay, if I don't get this right, the company will die. It should be quite stressful. And then the eating glass part is you've got to do the problems. You've got to work on the problems that the company needs you to work on, not the problems you want to work on. And so that's you end up working on problems that you'd really wish you weren't working on. And so that's the eating glass part.
So I watched that and I thought to myself, well, I'm not the world's richest man. And there's a big difference between SpaceX and Tesla and X to Wonks or to your business. But there was a level of connection that I felt in that, in terms of, yeah, it is hard being the boss, running your company, or even if you're in a role, most of the people that we would work with from a client level are in senior management roles within organizations. It's tough. I think, though, we should acknowledge that because it's tough, it sharpens us. It makes us better, makes us stronger. It certainly has operated that way for me. But make sure you reach out and talk to other business owners, other successful people, and talk through, both those high and low points. Let people know that you're there to support them. You might not necessarily have the answers or solutions to their problems, but just the empathy around, it's not great all the time. I certainly don't like the term entrepreneur. I get introduced as successful regularly. I don't want to talk about work outside of work. I just want to be a normal human being, because I'm not endowed with any special skills outside of belligerent determination. And so good to have empathy with other people. And on that note, I will wish you all the best for December. And one last memo for the year before we go on to a break. If you've got any questions around your project or around what I discussed today, please don't hesitate to email. Stay well. Bye-bye.